Recording in progress.
Hey, you guys, this is your host DeDe, and we are so excited to welcome you to our next episode.
Hey guys, this is your host DeDe of Courageous Talk, and we're just here celebrating this opportunity to talk about mental health. I want everybody to tune in here on this mental health conversation because this is a must hear, must see moment. And we have over here at the top left, Miss Tiph Hunter. We also have this beautiful couple below. We have on the left Miss Iris Person and her handsome husband, Mr. Darrin Person, as well. And hey, you guys, how are y'all doing? Can
Good.
y'all hear me? Oh, okay. Can y'all hear me?
Yes. Yes,
Okay,
doing
okay. I
good.
was trying
Good
to.
to see you.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's been a minute. It's been a minute, but it's so great to see. Tiff, of course, it's been a brief second here, but Harris and Darren, it's been a long time. Let me take off these glasses, please.
Yes.
Oh my God, it's been a minute, and Darren and Iris and I have a little bit of history, but
Yeah.
we're not going to talk about us. We're gonna just celebrate. I'm just blessed. I'm honored and just grateful that you guys were able to come. And of course, this is a mental health moment. And what is it? And whoever wants to talk first, that's fine. Who wants to elaborate on why would you choose this mental health arena as your platform of, your study? Tiff?
Okay.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Tiffany Hunter. So, the reason why I got into the mental health arena was to raise awareness. When I was 17, turning 18 years old, one of my cousins, she had like a what would you call it, premature labor and delivery. And as a result, her son struggled with, his speech and his development. And
Okay.
I had no clue that that could be an issue. And sometimes people, they might get different diagnoses and you don't know exactly what they mean. And I thought to myself, I don't want to be the person that just says, oh, well, my cousin has this, but I don't know what that means. I wanted to have a better understanding of how, development is impacted and that mental health can affect any and everyone, regardless of, your gender, your race, socioeconomic status. It's a once taboo topic that I'm glad is getting more spotlight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
And what about yourself, Iris?
Yeah, I would have to say, it really comes from my own personal testimony. You know, I I guess in summary, I would tell people, my testimony each time I have a chance to share is that, I came from severe trauma, severe PTSD, depression, anxiety, and dealing with all of that personally really impacted my life in so many ways and everything that I did, that God put a passion in me, to be able to share my testimony because we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. As Christians, that's something that's been powerful for me. I find that when we share our stories, there's a healing in that,
Right.
So that's been my mission, to
Yeah.
help others.
That's good. That's good. And Darren?
Yes, excuse me. You know,
Okay.
I don't know. I never set out on a journey to 20 years ago that I would be one that have written books on mental health or this journey or counseling other. I was just actually just chasing Iris. So and if you remember me in college or Robert, I was chasing Iris. So I was, in the middle
Yes.
of that, she talked about social work and I was in psychology. In the middle of that, I just found a ministry. I found a place. I found healing. Obviously, I was in there to think about helping others.
Mhm.
Then I discovered that there was some help for me as well in that. So I think and we've been very fortunate to, do seminars around mental health and do our own counseling, have our own counseling center. It wasn't the plan, but I saw a need because it's just this idea that I don't know, no matter how much money you make, it doesn't matter, who you're married to, what's your job. If you're not healthy mentally, you can't really go that far. So,
That's
yeah, so.
good. That's good. And Tiffany, being that these two are a couple, I've known them like forever, ever as a couple. What is your background? Because I know that we announced that we were going to talk about mental health and relationships. What was your background specifically in
So I
that
have
mental
a
health?
master's in marriage and family counseling, and I am also a licensed marriage and family therapist.
Okay, okay. I was like, okay, I remember somebody had something. I remember you had marriage, but I was like, okay, where all of this, comes full circle is overall a balance, and that's what I
Mhm.
see most. My first question, and feel free, Darren, to answer this: how does mental health and wise counsel work together?
Um, wow, that's really good. I think as I think about like wise counsel, like from my own experience, I've received a lot of wise counsel from like my elders, my
Mhm,
pastor,
mhm,
and I think it works together really close. I think you can get counsel all you can to help you. I've received a lot of counsel from others, from mentors, that
mhm,
were that played a pivotal part in my life. Like for instance, when I was became a father, I sought out some mentors that I knew, and like because my father wasn't there for me, so I
mhm,
sought them out for counsel to help me out. They weren't licensed like Iris or Tiffany. They didn't have like that experience, but they provided still some support for me, and I think that's part of the mental health journey. It plays a role in it. I do
abs-
think it does come a time though that you need some additional support or support from someone that's skillful in the area. It can surely open up the start of being healthy mentally.
Okay, that's good. That's good. I guess everybody's over here in agreement in some sort. What about yourself, Tiffany? In that arena, what would you say as far as wise counsel? How would that work hand in hand for from a marital standpoint, in a sense?
The wise counsel, that is so important because, as Mr. Darren was saying, you can get counsel, but what is the quality of it? So, a lot of times people are running to social media or they're talking to sometimes the elders in their family or even people who aren't in the position that they are in, and they're venting their frustrations and they're asking for advice and they're asking for input without considering what is the quality of the advice that I'm going to receive from this person or from this platform if I decide to take to social media. So I would say the reason why wise counsel is so important with mental health is that when you're exercising wisdom, it's not just, oh, there's a problem, stop that problematic behavior, but let's investigate what's the root of your behaviors. Because truth be told, we all have some type of behavior where we know if I do this one thing, I can get exactly what I want. And sometimes it's a matter of dismantling. I don't have to be dysfunctional to get my needs met. Perhaps I need to learn how to communicate more effectively or to practice patience, to exercise discipline. And people will notice you're patient, you are disciplined, you do what you say you will do. So when you ask me for something, I in turn will meet your need as opposed to being the person that maybe resorts to verbal or physical aggression to get what you need. So wise counsel will pinpoint that and say, it's not enough for me to tell you this is bad. We need to work to figure out why you're doing it and how we can replace what you're doing with something healthier so you don't isolate yourself.
Mm. Y'all going deep. Okay. This is good. This is already good. And I can go to Miss Iris. What are key issues seen that you know see like in rather just see it in general or even in relationships? What would you say that you see?
Yeah, I would have to say 99.9% is people dealing with unresolved conflicts and issues, interpersonal issues that from their past, from their childhood. I know people talk about there's a trend here in California and probably all over the nation about ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, and a study that Kaiser did about all these various areas that impact, human beings, but we oftentimes go underdiagnosed, and it's not really seen or acknowledged or named, and so people are just kind of, I say, crashing into each other. And when you look at the statistics, it's just so high, in our society of 70% or more people, walking around with some kind of, mental health issue, and then sometimes very serious issues that are underdiagnosed. And so I see a range of, I think that's one of the major things I see impacting people. And we bring that into the relationships, or what we call baggage, and we unpack that on each other. And so I know we may get a chance to get into it a little bit more with some more examples, but I can share a little bit more about how me and my husband, even us coming together, him not having a father of my abuse, and some of the early challenges that we had to really work through and heal and recover in order to be married for how many years now? 30, what, no,
Wow.
28 years and 33 years together. So, yeah. So,
Wow. Yeah, y'all. See, I'm gonna testify real quick on behalf of Darren and Iris that I met them back in 1994.
yes,
Okay?
yes, that's
So,
true.
Oh
so
man,
it
long time
I
ago.
know, right?
I didn't have no gray hair then.
Right? No, but you know what? Even with your chasing after Iris, even with that, and I know that that had to be a God, you know what I'm saying, a God thing, because, sometimes we can draw to people that are broken as ourselves, and we're like not even whole if we're going to
Mm,
talk from the spiritual perspective. So,
Yeah.
so it's like, oh my God, but with God just bringing y'all together, and like you said at the beginning, there were some, you know, things that are y'all had to deal with some things off the top. That is a blessing to hear because some folks don't even want to deal. They'll just, all right, my 6 months is up, I'm out. And I think, and I think that's why even nowadays, why marriage or divorce is so high is because people don't want to be really committed as they say the vows. They take it for granted, not judging anybody, but it's more okay, I'm in it to win it. And then all of a sudden, when chaos hits, it's
yeah,
like I'm out.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
So um
That's right.
so it blows my mind, and I'm coming from a single perspective. It's like, how can I connect with somebody that's not even whole? God, make me whole for the most
Right.
part, even
Yeah.
in that sense, because
Mhm.
I too, like my sister Iris, I grew up in a, abusive household,
Yeah.
verbal, mental, physical. So I get that, and you don't want to draw yourself to somebody that is in that same
Right.
arena of familiar, abuse or whatever, or they're either trying to do that to you. I was like,
That's
I'm too
right.
cute for all this. I'm too cute. So, but no, but in reality. It's like you have to draw a line somewhere to say, no, this generational curse or this has to be broken. And either we're going to face it head on. And I believe there's a scripture that talks about contending with something. You got to
Right.
contend against that thing. You got to face it like, this is my issue. Or this is my weakness, or this is what I came from. I got to
Yeah,
contend with it before I include somebody in my circle.
that's
So,
right.
I mean,
That's right.
anybody want to elaborate even in
Yeah,
that
yeah.
arena?
I like to jump in that DD before Iris and
Yeah,
Tiffany
go
jump
ahead.
in. I think, whatever you're dealing with is not going to go away just because you're in love. It's not. It's just, I've never seen like magically, it'll go away. Like if you're dealing with things, you're going to obviously bring that into your relationships. And it's going to, if it's something negative, obviously it's going to hinder, so I think you have to be really intentional about getting help. And you got to want to get help. I knew, I didn't have a father. I was absolutely in love with Iris, but I didn't know those issues was going to pop up, as I was like figuring things out. I got counsel from people that told me this is what a woman's supposed to be. So I planned for Iris to have my food hot right when I come back from RU. They told me what they thought they told. I got some counsel, but it wasn't wise counsel. And so I had expectations. I had a lot of things. Matter of fact, me and Iris went to a premarital to get some support, and the counselor told us, she said, "Oh, you got a perfect relationship. Y'all good. We've been looking for that lady for the last 30 years to say, hey, those first 2 years, were pretty tough. But I think you got to want to get help. You got to be vulnerable. You got to know that you don't got it. A lot of times, some men, because I work with a lot of men, like you think you just got it. It's okay to be vulnerable with the person that you're with. And if you don't, and if you need help, that's the beauty of a relationship. You can do it together. We're not judging each other. We don't got to fake like we got it together. And I think it blossoms from there. And when you're able to be that, I think you're able to grow something that could be beautiful. Yeah.
Amen. Amen. And what would you say, even, with that, because you're dealing with marital, Tiffany, what would
I
you add on to
definitely,
that? Go
sure.
ahead.
I definitely love the fact that you mentioned you went to premarital counseling. I know prior to getting married, I also did premarital counseling. And at first I was nervous because my thought process was, if we don't pass premarital counseling, like, does that mean we're not meant to get married? And it's like the only two people that can decide whether or not they're going to get married are the people within the couple. But also being mindful that, hey, the expectations that worked in one household, they might not work in mine. So sometimes, of course, the more traditional mindsets around, okay, well, you need to have my dinner ready, or you need to make sure that you're the one paying all of the bills. If you're the husband or if you're the wife, you do this. And it's like, well, what happens if that doesn't work for your household? Does that mean that the marriage crumbles? Or are you willing to go back to the drawing board and figure out what works best for you? And you can share with people, but give the disclaimer, hey, this works for my household. It may not work for yours. So we have to be very careful with this idea of pinning relationship goals on people, because what works for their relationship is not a universal one size fits all.
That's
So
good.
what you
That's good.
struggled with, they might not struggle with. So their solutions might look different from yours. And that's okay, because each one of us is unique, but we're all going through something.
Y'all getting too deep for me. Y'all are good. But it's good. It's good. I want to jump into Bye Bye Boogeyman by none other than Darrin Person. Darrin, do you have a copy of the book or whatever? I forgot to ask you about that.
Yeah,
Nearby.
Iris got. She's gonna pick it off our library. Yeah, she's gonna pick it in.
Yes.
I'll send it.
Right.
Yes.
I'll put it in the chat. I'll
Yes.
put it in the send it to you. Yeah, this is my book. How long ago was that?
Oh,
About 5 years ago, and me and Iris, matter of fact, we actually ended up going to. It's called Bye Bye Boogeyman: Overcoming Fears. Um, and yeah, I do have a copy.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. With Bye Bye Boogeyman, what inspired you to write this book? Because like you said, overcoming fears. What is it? Because we always hear everybody, well, my anxiety kicked up, and I'm looking at them like, baby, y'all got a spirit of fear. This is just my natural mindset. Y'all just got a spirit of fear. But long story
Mhm.
short, being that I'm not in this mental health arena, I can't judge. So what has inspired Bye Bye Boogeyman, and what would you like to share about the book?
Yeah, it was a lifelong journey. For me, I've always sensed that I have, like, to your point, a spirit of fear that came from many things, maybe insecurity, maybe, my family, my history.
Mhm.
And I was 10, especially as a young man, I call it boogeyman because we all have boogeyman when we're young,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
But if we're not careful as we get older, we also have boogeymen, if you will, that look a little bit differently than the monsters
Mhm.
that scratch on our windows. They show up in a different way.
Mhm.
So I wanted to take a lighthearted approach to talk about the boogeyman, but to talk about some real things like, fear of rejection and of success
Mhm.
and certain things like that. And for me, it was like I got a chance to minister to the little boy Darrin, but then also talk to adults because you can have those fears like you said, DeDe, like like a spirit of fear. But as I got an adult, again, like if you don't deal with things, they end up showing up. So
Mhm.
as I got older, the weight of being a father, the weight of being a husband, the weight of being in ministry, and you experience fear in different ways, and I think sometimes get embarrassed. Like for example, me and I was in a seminar with a group of pastors, ministers. You'd be surprised how many people came up to me afterwards in the corner as pastors and leaders of significant, even churches that would say that, I'm dealing with anxiety. And, for me, God led me down this road because some years ago I had my own bout with actual like dealing with anxiety. And I thank God for Iris because like any good man, I was trying to hide and
Yeah.
say I didn't have no problem. We lie a lot, so
Yeah.
and, and it was just the weight of life and stress. You can be in ministry, you can be in all kind of places and still be anxious and whatever. And one day, Iris saw me. I was just really, really, really at a point where just overwhelmed. And she saw it in my eyes. And again, I lied and said, no, I wasn't dealing with any type of anxiety or anything. I said, how can I deal with anxiety and I'm counseling other folk? And
Mhm.
so from that, obviously God, delivered me from that. I didn't, so many people, I would always recommend that they go through counseling to deal with some of those things, especially if they're impacting your life in ways. I would always recommend. I was able to, with Iris's help, to move on. So this book kind of came out of that too, like not only like the spirit of fear, but even from a clinical perspective, like they're actually dealing with anxiety and anxiety attacks. So it's hard. Many of our country, when I did my research, are dealing with anxiety all across the nation. A lot of people are just not talking about it,
Mhm.
and so I wanted to hit it head on.
Yeah.
And one of the things I said, God is not, intimidated by our fear. He's
Mhm.
drawn to us, and
Mhm.
we still have purpose. We're not weak because we have mental health crises.
Mhm.
People just don't talk about it, and so I wanted to hit it right on. And from that, God is able to like use me and Iris to minister to others.
Yeah.
Good. See, now I love that. And could you just put the book up in front of the
Yeah,
camera just for a hot second because I want them
yeah,
to see Bye Bye Boogeyman. Uh,
Mhm.
yeah, it's a slight
yeah.
glare.
Iris will tell you to look good. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool. 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 Yeah. That's all they need to see. Go get the
no,
book, y'all. Plan into the man of
Mhm.
God because so many of us, and let's keep it real, you don't hear that many men say that, hey, I have an issue. Just like, my brother Darren just said so often, oh, I'm fine. Oh, I'm fine. I'm good. And then behind closed doors, they are
Mm.
really just tore up or dealing with whatever the issue or struggle may be. So it's good
Mhm.
to have a good support system, and I agree that you and Iris were like glue over the years, and I see y'all are, inseparable. Uh,
Yeah.
and that's a blessing. That's a blessing, but it's good to have that support, especially when, like for myself, you don't always lack the support, but I'm sorry, y'all. But in so many instances, we need the support of one another. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, my other question would be to Tiffany. Why would we say that communication or is a big issue or whatever in the home or in our community? Why would you say it's a struggle?
It's a struggle because perhaps communication skills have not been modeled for us.
Mhm.
Like, for example, me coming from a Black and a Christian household, there were certain things I could not say to my parents, certain tones I could not use with them. And perhaps it wasn't because they didn't want to have those in depth conversations with me, but it was trying to set healthy boundaries and not really necessarily knowing how. So that's where we came up with phrases like stay in a child's place. What happens in this house stays in this house. And sometimes what can happen is your home is supposed to be your sanctuary and your safe space. But if you're not creating a safe space within the house, your kids can be going through things, your spouse can be going through things, and you have no clue because the foundation for healthy communication hasn't been set up. So I think that's why it can be such a challenge because sometimes adults, they just get to the point of, oh, well, my child is no longer a child. They should just be able to come to me and just tell me things. And it's like, well, did you practice having open and honest communication with them? Where it's like, hey, if you're struggling with something, something's happening in school, something's happening at work, you can talk to mom, you can talk to dad. If you think that we're not cool enough, there have to be some healthy adults in your life that you could talk to so you're not going through things by yourself. And same thing, for the adults as well. It's great to rely on your spouse. And it's also great if your spouse encourages you to get counsel elsewhere too. But just really creating that safe space where it's like, hey, if you want to talk about something, I'm here to listen. But if that's not modeled and that's not actually practiced, especially if we get in our feelings because our kids tell us something that we don't want to hear, yeah, that's why communication in the home can be so difficult
That's
because conversations are necessary, but they can be difficult.
That's so true. I want to tell the audience that if this cuts out, we will continue this conversation. Believe me, we are still here, okay? So as we proceed on, Darren and Iris, being that, I know that you guys have two young adults as your children, and then yourselves. How did you all handle the communication, and what would you say in this community, as far as in the household and also for those that are needing to hear the communication and so forth in the household or in the community? Why is it so vital or important that we have that?
Okay, are you referring to
To,
mental health?
yes.
Talking about mental health? Okay.
Yes, yes, ma'am. And
Yeah.
the reason why, and I'm gonna piggyback real quickly back on what something that Tiffany stated,
Mhm.
that that communication I see, and this is just my perspective, that it's so necessary because we see so many kids now, they're on their electronics. They're not even
Mhm.
communicating.
Yeah.
They're upstairs texting, mom and dad downstairs. Instead of
Yeah.
that communication, like, hey, cell phones, tablet, whatever, is put to the side. And
Yeah.
we see in our society that there are so many issues, and I'm not intentionally raising this up, but we see shootings, different situations. Why is this, so important to have that communication in the home? Or,
Mhm.
because we're seeing that everybody's saying, oh, they have a mental issue. So
Mhm.
that's why I'm raising this up from that perspective.
Yeah, yeah. I think it was always on the forefront of our mind as parents because of coming from the backgrounds that we come from, but also being blessed to be in a field and study and understanding how these things do impact, children and our development. If we're not, aware or talking about these things, the first time I, really learned about things is in a textbook, was reading in college and I go, oh my goodness, this was my family. This is what I went through. So I
Right.
think it came, from an awareness to talk with our children, and we talked about various, issues and things from safety, body safety, to um, depression or anxiety, dealing with our, even our children as they were growing. Different things would happen either in the schools, or that they would be, as you said, they're exposed to nowadays, things that we weren't exposed to even when we were coming up. So they have different types of vicarious trauma that they are exposed to, even if it's indirectly, something going on. And so we always just made that a place and a space, a safe space for our children to be able to talk to us, for us to have those hard talks. And our children would tell us today, they would say, thank you so much for having those conversations with me. Thank you so much, because I didn't understand then, and I thought you guys were just, being extra or whatever. But they appreciated, us uh, uh, giving them age appropriate, talks and discussions, and being vulnerable as parents. They could see that, and that was our life's work, and what we did. So, seeing us in the community, or whether seeing us, but I do think it's vital. That's the missing link there. People are not connected. We're missing it again. People are walking by each other, and the signs are all there, but we are just not um, noticing and seeing people, and it's very important to start that not only in the home. I was just telling that to my class. I'm a professor as well, and I was telling them that. I said, a healthy community, a healthy society starts with a healthy, family unit. I really believe that. So, yeah.
That's good. That's really, really good. Um,
Mhm.
how can we have balance without allowing the past in our presence? And Darren, you could start off with that, you know.
I
Um,
said again, I'm sorry, DeDe, I missed that.
but
How
you
can we
want me
have
to,
balance?
how can we have balance without allowing the past in our present?
Mhm.
Yeah, I was going to say stay present, stay, stay where you're at now. I think it's hard. I mean, we all have a past, whether negative, positive. Obviously, those things that are in the past that have like helped lifted you. I'm always being reminded of those things that God has blessed me with, and I'm very grateful. So I think for that, I'll just live with that. That stays with me because it lifts me up. Those things that are negative, in our past. I mean, obviously, it's okay to acknowledge that, right? And so, but I don't think we need to stay there. And we have the tendency sometimes. I know I have, where we are overwhelmed by those, or because things didn't work out like we wanted to, or we made bad decisions, that it just stays with us. And
Yes.
and God has allowed us to move on. He has forgiven us if that's the case, or He has delivered us from those things. So we don't want to stay in those. So I think it's just for me to be like healthy, and a good balance is to make sure to just to remember what God has done for you. And remember what you have been able to overcome. Remember your strength, your resilience. Don't walk away from those things. I tell our son, he's a basketball player. Right now he's somewhere in France playing. Before the game, he just called me. Our times are different, and I was like, just I remember who you are. You are successful. This is a new game. Remember those things, but forget about those shots that you missed last week.
Oh, right.
Because he tend to remember, Dad, I missed that shot. I said, man, move on to the next shot. That's it didn't go in. Move on to the next shot, but remember the ones you made.
Right.
And I think maybe that's how it is in life too. Remember, it's okay to rejoice in the times that you were victorious. Um, and we work on the shots that we miss. So
Yeah.
yeah. So I think having a good balance of that, but I think we do tend to really stay in the past. The past trauma, the past mistakes, which can overwhelm you and don't allow you to live in the present.
Right. I like
Yeah.
that you said that. I love that you said that. Because it was something earlier you said, and then as well as what you're sharing now to the question. I noticed that somewhat unforgiveness and
Mhm.
bitterness
Well,
has been a part of the trauma. Not all. Okay, everybody, we are back. I told y'all we were going to be back. But long story short, we were just elaborating on the question that was, how can we balance life without allowing the past into our present? And of course, the last statement that I was making was in a sense of saying bitterness and forgiveness kind of work, of course, hand in hand in some of our trauma, not saying that it's the same for everyone else, but I noticed that sometimes we can be bitter and angry with our own self, and we carry that into our present, then we carry it into our relationships or even with our family members or whatever. And we, just have these moments where we burst out in anger. And actually, we're really mad at ourselves for whatever the reason may be. But we never took the opportunity to go for counseling to say, why am I mad at myself?
Right.
What was it that triggered this anger? And I can elaborate later on, but I think the last person that we're going to get an answer from in regards to not allowing the past, or how can we not allow our past in our present, would be with Miss Tiffany Hunt.
I definitely agree that unforgiveness and bitterness, they can definitely work together. So taking the time to forgive yourself, if it was a relationship, doesn't have to be a romantic one or even a familial. It could be a relationship with a business partner or, with a former employer. If you know that you stayed in a situation that perhaps encouraged you to be bitter and it fed, the fire of you being dysfunctional, forgive yourself for staying for as long as you did. Forgive yourself for not having the knowledge and the insight beforehand, where now you're making better decisions. How are we going to move forward? Just like Mr. Darrin was saying earlier about his son, don't focus so heavily on the shots that you missed. Let's celebrate the shots that you made. We can still work on, our shortcomings, but dwelling on them and ruminating on them to the point where we never move forward, we never consider what new skills could I learn? Perhaps I wasn't a good listener in the past, but can I be a good listener now? Perhaps I didn't exercise forgiveness towards myself and others as well as I could have in the past, but can I learn to do that now?
Mhm.
Can I really believe, what Paul said in Philippians? I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Can I actually believe that and use that as my mantra? Like whatever state I'm in, whether I'm anxious or I'm depressed or I'm bouncing back from an anxiety attack, I'm bouncing back from a bout with depression. Do I really believe that I can do that through Christ? Because if you don't believe it, it is going to be very hard for you to move forward and see that balance between my past might have helped me get to where I am, but it doesn't have to color, inform, and drive my future.
That's good. That's good. Anybody else wanting to say any additional statement?
Yeah, yeah, I'd like to share too, and this has been really great. I tell you, I'm getting filled today. Thank you for that, Tiffany. Um, I always tell people, I've had a lot of things I've been forgiven for, and I've had to do a lot of forgiving, you know. But I tell people it's like a museum of tolerance, Um, you go, you visit it, it's there. You might even cry and you remember, but it won't overtake you and it doesn't have to control the rest of your life. Um, I would always say maybe something happened right here if this were a timeline, and
Mhm.
we will carry it out all the way,
Oh, yeah.
there's a lot of life to live, and we're not just when we see on a tombstone, we see birth and death. There's a whole lot of dash in the middle, and God wants us to get busy living. And in order to be able to do that, I believe you have to release all of that, the roots of bitterness, the roots of pain and shame and unforgiveness for yourself, and also releasing others, because it just tethers you to that one little place. And I don't believe you can fully live that abundant life and that more abundantly, and prosper in our soul and and be in good health as God wants us to.
Oh, hold on, y'all. I just realized I accidentally left it on mute. Please
Oh,
forgive me.
All
Okay.
right, we got it.
So, yes, we're gonna crush this thing, right? Okay.
Mhm.
Y'all, the question, and if y'all did not hear all this, we're gonna repeat this real good because it was really, really good. I want to go back to Tiffany elaborating on having balance, not allowing your past to be in your present. And if you can share again, and please forgive me, y'all. Hit the unmute.
It's no problem. We're talking about forgiveness and grace right now, aren't we? So this is perfect. Um, but in order to find a balance where things have happened to you in your past, or sometimes you've made your own decisions and they didn't pan out the way that you wanted them to, learning to forgive yourself and extend forgiveness to other people. Because if we don't forgive others, and I believe that includes ourselves, like that goes against what God is commanding us to do. It's not a multiple choice option. If you're going to move forward and you're going to live life abundantly, as God said, I came that they might have life and have it more abundantly, you're going to have to let go of some things. And that's the process of forgiveness, uh, not charging people for the crime and you stay stuck. Or as Mrs. Iris was saying, you are tethered to whatever has happened to you. And if you think it's hard walking through life, going through therapy, think about trying to walk through life with however many baggages you think you have, never unpacking them, never letting them go. So if you're going to live a prosperous life, not just in the sense of money, but your mental health, forgiveness is definitely a key for you to strike that balance between that happened to me, but that doesn't mean that I have to carry it with me to the point where that's my entire identity and I can never be anything better. I can't be who God wants me to be.
Right.
And Miss Iris, what were you sharing?
Yeah, I was saying, I have needed a lot of forgiveness in my life, and I have had to give a lot of forgiveness, and I like to share with clients and people, I think about it, the things that have happened in the past as like a museum of tolerance, you see it, you know that it's there, you might shed a tear as you remember certain things, but it doesn't have to control and dominate the rest of your life. And I gave the example that something can happen to you in this measure of time, but we will carry it all the way out, for the rest of our life. And there's a whole lot of life to live. When we go to a funeral, we hear about how someone was born and how they died, but there's a whole lot of dash in the middle, and God resides there. He is as much in that journey as he is in the outcome. And, allowing him to give us that life and that more abundantly that he speaks about, and prospering in our soul and being in good health. I believe that's all a part of it, is letting go of the past, letting go of those pain, the shame, and the guilt, and all of that, and the bitterness, the bitter root. And I think, we can get busy living, as I like to say,
Yes.
with people. And one thing, Tiffany, just to piggyback off of something that you said, I think that's so important with this. I'll always say to people, when you're struggling with unforgiveness, also, stop asking what is wrong with me, or what's wrong with somebody else, but ask what happened to me, and therein lies the forgiveness and the self-love and the grace, that I believe that God, has for all of us and wants us to, share it abroad to others in whatever respect that we're doing that.
Yes, indeed. Y'all, this has been a major, major blessing. And I pray that you, as the audience, are blessed. And y'all are just as blessed as I am. Not just to see my brother and sister. It's been a minute. And then also, God had blessed me to connect with Miss Tiff through her husband, who shares other platforms in the musical area. And of course, y'all don't know it, but even Iris herself is also a gospel recording artist as well. And just to be able to hear that, oh my God, I got someone that deals with mental health, besides my brother and my sister here, this will be a major, and it's happening today. So I'm like a kid in the candy store right now because I'm blessed to hear somebody elaborate on something, because I did a thing about 2, maybe 3 years ago where I was the type of person, this is a short testimony. I was the type of person that felt like I did not need anybody's help. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear no psychiatrist. I don't want to hear nothing. Not saying that and I'm sorry, but it's at the point, kind of like my brother Darrin, it's like, I'm good. I'm good, because all you're gonna do is, and you're
Yeah.
trying to figure what and some people don't know how to approach you
Mm.
either in that arena. But I was able to do a thing once again about 2, 3 years ago. I joined a group here in my area called Cultivate. And you didn't have to be literally a part of the church to be, take part in it. But it was just a point of where myself and other sisters, because they have it separate for men and then separate for women, to get together. And it used to be called Peeling the Onion for another group, but
Mhm.
almost goes hand in hand with that. And weeks at a time, we will meet weeks at a time, and then also dig like some of the stuff that y'all were talking about, talking about shame. It's like certain subjects, but it just got deeper as time went on. And I want to give shout out to my pastor, Doug, and his wife, Jeannie. Jeannie is the one that's over Cultivate, and Jeannie Robbins, I got to give her props, has been a major, major asset here in the San Antonio, Texas area, sharing this. And she does this every season, and the seasons are within twice within the year. So it's like helpful to any and everybody. And if it can help me, um, excuse me, get healed of just the past trauma, issues, facing myself, dealing with issues, realizing that, oh, I'm short here, or hey, I was strong here, or hey, I allowed this whole entire thing to disturb my peace, and now I have my peace back. It's
Mm.
worth it. It's worth it to just face, as my brother Darrin just stated, bye bye boogeyman. You got to face your fears. You got
Yeah.
to face what you were so uncomfortable with, and be overcomers. The word does say we overcome by the blood of the lamb and by the word
Yeah.
of our testimony. Well, my
Right.
testimony was the test, but now I'm over that. And now
Yeah.
I'm overcoming. So I wish that, whoever would get with Iris and Darrin. What is you all's platform, just in case others may want to connect with you all?
Yeah, we have something that we can also send to you if you can put that in there. But are you looking for like an
A
email
link or a website or
link?
whatever, if you have a website like Person to Person, or the name of
Yeah,
your ministry, that people can even look
yeah.
for, rather be international.
Uh-huh, yeah, yeah. So they can reach us at pertoper um, uh, at att.net for inquiry, and we can either put that link in there for them because I can't remember it at that
No,
point.
that's okay.
Or
And
they
what
can
I will do,
click on it,
yeah, I
and that
will
will
put
take
it
them
in.
to us.
Yes, I
Yeah,
will put it in the YouTube link. If anybody
yeah,
is watching on YouTube, go
yeah,
to the YouTube link. I know some of y'all are seeing this
yeah,
on Facebook, but go into Courageous Talk,
yeah.
and I will place it in the YouTube link.
Good,
Go
good.
into the description, and I will share that below. And if y'all have music, to look up Iris Person. You hear me? IRIS Person, just like people. There you
All
go.
right.
There she goes. Oh my goodness, y'all. There she goes. And it's called Rise by
Yeah.
Iris and Person. And I promise you guys, you will be blessed. I mean, one of my favorites is um where you did the twist to the song. Oh my God. Um,
Redeemer.
yes, that was,
Yeah.
oh my God. So you did your little twist to it. I was like, oh
If you want to dance, go.
so
Yeah.
it really has blessed me. But I mean, I love everything in Power was one of
Thank
the most
you.
powerful songs that anybody can just listen to. But the whole entire album is seasoned, it is blessed, it is anointed as well. Miss Tiffany Hunter, if y'all don't know, she has her own background of, like she stated, of dealing with the marital perspective. However, if any information, Tiffany, what would you say to share from that perspective? I know that you're not doing any, but you can share where
Right. Sure.
other people. Yeah, she'll share it, and if y'all see her on your platform, she'll direct you where you need to go. I'll say it
Mhm.
like that. She
Yeah.
will direct you who and what, but she is a woman with wisdom, insight, and so forth in this marital, relational perspective. And I'm so grateful to have connected with her, but also her husband is Jan Hunter. And if
Right.
y'all listen to
John Hunter
y'all
Jr.
listen to his music, yes, Jan Hunter, I'm so sorry, Jan Hunter Jr. Please tell him forgive me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Is he coming out with anything new as we know, or did he just release something?
You know, he does have some new singles that are
Okay.
on iTunes. So if you look up Jan Hunter Jr. on most streaming platforms, you will see it. He actually has a new single that he produced coming out on October 11th with one of his newer artists. And yeah, I just enjoy the quality of the work that he does. I am thankful, to be his wife and to do life with him. Absolutely. And
Mhm.
so, like you were saying, Miss DeDe, while I am not currently accepting clients, you can find me on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram at Tiph Hunter. That's TIP as in Paul, H, last name Hunter. You can find me on those platforms. And if you're looking to get connected with services, let me know. I'm always willing to help. So if you DM me, I will respond. I'll do the best that I can to get you connected. So yeah, feel free, say hello, drop a comment. I'm friendly, I'm personable. So I love talking to people.
Amen. Amen. Well, I'm not going to prolong because I know that we have been blessed by these women and gentlemen of God. And I tell you guys, y'all, go back and push replay. I will once again connect this on my YouTube platform called Courageous Talk. But this was a powerful mental health conversation that was needed. And prayerfully, we'll have you guys back for another season of it. I mean, it was very, and I think we just barely hit, So, but I know that everybody's schedule is different. So I want to say I love you all. Darrin, Iris, Tiff, I thank y'all so much for joining us. And
Thank
also back to
you.
our audience, I just want to say thank you guys for joining us to hear about mental health, about relationships, about things in our community that we need to hear. Not what we want to hear, but what we need to hear. And may God bless you all. Until the next time on our next episode, we will see you again. All right. Thank you again.